Welcome to AI Evals and Analytics podcast. We're Stella and Amy. This is Stella.
This is Amy.
Amy and I have been in tech for a combined 25 years and started working on AI Evals and Analytics in 2023.
Yeah, we co-founded AI Evals and Analytics in 2025, which is last year, to advise and teach companies how to conduct evaluation-driven development to build safe and reliable AI products.
Amy and I get asked a lot of questions around evals daily, so we decided to record this podcast to answer some common questions and discuss the latest trends in AI evals and analytics.
Yeah, this area is constantly evolving every day. This podcast will also be a good outlet for us to share what's been in the industry, the latest news, and what's the best practice recently.
So, as the first episode of our podcast, Amy, what are we going to talk about today?
Stella and I, coming from a data science background, get asked a lot of questions about what does it take to become an AI evals specialist or AI evaluator. And we believe data scientists have a natural advantage in doing AI evals work.
We can start from several different perspectives. When we talk about AI eval, we hear a lot about evaluation metrics. And whenever we talk about metrics, it naturally feels like part of data science.
Yeah, naturally feels like product analytics.
So if we look at how AI evaluations are done today, they're actually very close to the core data science skills. So let's start from statistics.
Are you going to bring up the Venn diagram that's very famous for data science skills, which is the Venn diagram with statistics, coding, and business skills?
Yeah, starting from statistics. Statistics is definitely one important skill to have in order to do AI evaluations effectively. Although it's not talked a lot today, but if you think about how to pick effective sample size, how to do effective comparison between different metrics, all of that go under statistics.
When you are designing metrics in AI evals, this all has to be done way before you launch the product. These definition of metrics require a lot of statistical skills as well. And a lot of these metrics are quite similar to what we've been doing in data science.
Yeah. And also coding skill, in addition to statistics, is also very crucial for doing AI evaluations.
I have a question. Can you just tell AI agent to vibe code, AI evals code? Do you have to write the code?
I know some people are doing that today. We can definitely leverage AI coding assistants to do some of the coding for us, but it can get very dangerous if we outsource AI evaluations completely to those coding agents.
First of all, the AI itself may not understand how to do AI evals that much, especially for your specific product. They don't know the entire context. Second of all, you are basically asking AI to evaluate itself, just like you're asking your son to grade his own paper.
When I work on AI evals, I found out that AI coding assistants are usually not that helpful in writing AI evaluation code. And my assumption of that is because AI evaluation, the space is still very new, so there's not so much code for AI coding tools to reference. So one more reason why we should be more engaged in writing AI evaluation code ourselves.
Can you give us example? Give us example of a piece of code you have to generate and AI failed to do it very well.
A big part of AI evaluation today is LLM as a judge. And LLM as a judge rely a lot on writing good evaluation prompts. And if you work on AI evaluations, you will soon find out that AI is not very good at writing evaluation prompts because writing good evaluation prompts requires a lot of trial and error. AI itself sometimes becomes too ambitious in writing evaluation prompts and tries to do so many things in one prompt, in one evaluation metric, and that is never going to work very well.
So you have to divide and conquer for
Yeah,
break it down into smaller tasks.
yes, and that divide and conquer process is something that needs to be done by human.
So we've got statistics and coding. What's the one other skill that's required for AI eval?
Yeah, I would say dataset generation. This is actually super important for doing effective AI evals today. I know there are a lot of open benchmark datasets that we can use today, But Amy, we have both heard a lot of horror stories around using benchmark data sets and found out that all that benchmark data sets have already gone into training data sets of all those large language models, which means that there is a huge benchmark data contamination issue. We cannot rely on open benchmark data set for doing AI evals for our own AI products.
Data leak is definitely an issue. We don't know what data actually went into the training data set. If one particular model excel at a task, don't be happy too soon. And maybe it's
Yeah,
because it's seen the question before. And this is actually a common problem in machine learning and data science anyway, so it should be very familiar to you all.
yeah.
Um, yeah, open benchmarks are not reliable, which is a very, very common mistake we've seen from people who work in AI evals. You need to focus on analyzing your product and test it individually instead of relying on the highest score on open benchmark.
Yeah, I think it is safe to assume that all benchmark data sets that we can find online have already gone into training data for all those large language models.
It's a low hanging fruit when trying to game the system.
Yeah, yep. And that is why data set generation is especially important for doing effective AI evaluations. And what that entails is that we need to generate or we need to curate our own data set in order to test our AI products.
What does the data set look like usually? Tell us example of data set you would use to conduct AI evals in a real use case.
There are different types of test sets that we can generate in order to run AI evals for our products. And one common type of test set is what we call golden test set. Basically, it is a data set of question and answer pairs. So we have a question to test our AI product, and we have a ground truth or reference that we can use in evaluating the product. It is a list of different question and answers where we can leverage and run those questions through our products one by one, and based on the response and compare the responses to the references or the ground truths we have in the golden test sets and generate a score or scores based on that.
For people who may be more familiar with NLP, this is just the same as the question answering data set you would use in a pre ChatGPT era where you have a lot of question answering data sets. In the AI evals case, we are a big proponent on you need to be very familiar with your problem and work with stakeholders to make this data set. So it's not a data set that you can simply ask AI to, hey, give me 1,000 question
Yeah,
answer pair and then use that as your golden data set.
that is a very common mistake that we've seen people make in practice.
Yeah. We'll get into more of that in later episodes, but I want to emphasize that while we're on this.
Besides technical skills, there are also a lot of soft skills required in AI evals that are very relevant to data scientists. To give some context around why soft skills are required in doing AI evals. Over the past year, which is 2025, I think we've seen a lot of discussions on AI evals from the product manager community. For most of those discussions, they are for AI products in certain industries. For example, customer support chatbot for e-commerce companies or general SaaS product. But as AI gets into more industries, for example, like regulated industries, legal, healthcare, education, and cybersecurity or accounting or finance, doing AI evals is no longer a one-person job. It requires cross-discipline collaboration. It requires involvement from stakeholders and also subject matter experts.
The reason we're pointing this out is we've been seeing product managers, they have so much work, but now it seems like we're counting on them to take on the entire AI evals work. They have to define what needs to be evaluated. They have to coordinate everybody to execute the AI evals process. And when there are gray areas and things that needs to be decided, product manager need to serve as, I've heard the word benevolent dictator to decide what gets done in AI evals. But as we move on to more industry, more complicated, more regulated industry, we need more than one person to translate these technicalities into
Yeah.
quantitative evaluation metrics and process.
Yeah, and don't take us wrong. AI evals should start from product managers, and AI evals should start from the product requirement document, the PRD. But it takes a team to go from the PRD to actual doing effective AI evaluations.
It's the same as how coming back to data science, same as how data science evolved. When we first started around early 2010, often we see one data scientist take on end to end from modeling to deployment and then also product analytics. They have to do a lot of things. But as time goes by, now we've seen data science being separated into different functions. A lot of different data scientists will collaborate with other teams to make one huge data science project. We expect to see AI evals to evolve in the same way. It takes a team to do AI evals correctly. Coming back to translating technicality, let's go through an example of how to translate.
I work in education tech, so I'll just use an example from education. Let's say we build an analytics bot that is public facing and that helps answer demographic statistical questions about a school or a university. And because we're FERPA regulated, we need to handle PII data very carefully, which means that we cannot put student data in a bot, of course. But there's actually a more delicate scenario here. For example, if I ask the analytics bot about a specific slice of demographic data in a university, and if that slice of data contains less than 5 students, then we cannot share the data with public because the small group of students in that slice will be easily identifiable. And again, this is very specific to FERPA regulation. If you don't work in education, if you're not familiar with FERPA, you may not realize that this is a guardrail or evaluation that we need to put into place. So again, this is one of the technicalities that we need to pay special attention to for this specific industry. And I imagine for other industries, there are also a different set of technicalities that we need to bring into our evaluations.
And this is what we often call domain expertise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes human and very specific human to translate these technicalities into quantitative evaluation metrics and process. Or guardrail. We'll explain what guardrail and all these other different terms means in later podcast. It seems like we are just piling up terms to explain in the future episodes.
More episodes to come.
Yeah, so please subscribe. So we've seen a lot of these needs, especially from regulated industry. They find it difficult to translate these industry standards or rules or delicate situation into evals. It's only possible for these people to learn how to do evals and then translate these technicalities for their own domain.
And even for industries that are not as heavily regulated as healthcare or education, in many cases, we still need to work very closely with subject matter experts and stakeholders in order to deliver effective AI evals. I read a shocking statistics the other day. I think it was from McKinsey. It mentioned that about 95% of enterprise AI initiatives ended up failing miserably. They never went into production.
Even for micro level, when I talk to people, I ask them how their AI initiative inside the corporation is doing. 2 years ago, 1 year ago, they will start a very exciting project and putting up a team to explore how to utilize AI inside the organization. And after a long effort, this project just died because the management couldn't trust the product to go in public. It's going to be too risky for their reputation because they don't know how to control the outputs of these AI products.
Yeah, and this is not new to data scientists or to machine learning engineers. We have all at some point experienced this firsthand. A machine learning or data science project that we put into so much effort into never got to be used by stakeholders because they were not
They are
solving
not
the
solving the problem 100%.
yeah, because they were not solving the problem 100% or they were solving the wrong problem.
Yeah. It must be very familiar to data scientists that you need to communicate or persuade someone to accept uncertainty and accept the 95% accuracy rate. And people are always going to ask, what about the 5%? Now it's even messier because you don't even know if it's 5%.
Yeah.
Yeah, AI outputs are inherently uncertain, and AI evaluator need to communicate that to stakeholders.
Yeah. And also collect requirements and also feedbacks from stakeholders and iterate on that.
So I've talked about a lot of technical and soft skills required for AI evaluators. We've been extremely biased towards this is the best job for data scientists.
A great new opportunity for data scientists in this AI era.
While these skills are highly aligned with data science skills, there are some new skills required for AI evaluations. We're going to talk about what are those. First of all, do data scientists naturally understand GenAI? It is a model after all. What's the difference between GenAI models and the models we've been working on in data science? The first uncomfortable part about GenAI fundamentals is these are models that data scientists don't really own. You don't
Right.
get to train the models from bottom up like before. Now you kind of just pick a off the shelf model and then use it. And you have to accept its strengths and weaknesses altogether, which takes a lot of new skills to get used to.
As people working on AI evaluations, we don't necessarily have the skills of, like, say, training a large language model from scratch, but we need to understand the basics. For example, how does Gen AI models work, even on a high level, on a conceptual level, and also what are RAG system, what is agentic. I think understanding those basics and those Gen AI product fundamentals really help us to understand what could go wrong in Gen AI products and what to test.
For folks who worked on NLP tasks before, it's the same in a way that it's also language output. So nothing is truly deterministic. You cannot put anything into just single true and false pairs. Given that it's pre-trained models, you are using a model someone else put together, you have less control basically.
Yeah.
And to evaluate them, you need to follow a new playbook instead of having the freedom to design everything by yourself. We're being a little bit limited here by saying language output. It could be images, it could be videos, audios, but it's the same. You don't really know what it's going to generate, and it's going to be different every time.
The other new skill for many data scientists is software testing. I found out that a lot of data scientists are not necessarily familiar with software testing philosophies.
It's the part where we get picked on by software engineers.
Yeah.
Yeah, software engineers are always like, oh, these data scientists don't know how to test their code. And they complain when they have to put out code in production.
Now is the time. Now is the time for data scientists to equip ourselves with software testing.
So are you talking about writing new unit tests, writing CI/CD pipeline for AI products, or what does it mean to do software testing in AI evals?
Yeah, that is a great question. Test coverage for AI products is different from traditional software. In AI products, when we talk about test coverage, it's usually the coverage of different scenarios, which for AI products can be an infinite number.
So you could only prioritize the scenarios you want to be testing.
It also goes back to dataset generation, what we talked about previously. How do we ensure that the dataset, the test set we generate, has a good coverage on different scenarios, or it covers the most important scenarios?
Is it fair to say that the dataset generation or the software testing for AI will never end if your product's running? It could always be better.
Yeah, I think that is true. And it is also not that different from traditional software as well. In traditional software testing, it is a known fact that we can never get 100% test coverage.
Of course, there are also other skills required in AI evals, but today we wanted to share the most important skills to start working on AI evals project. To close this podcast episode, we want to respond to one most common question for the work Stella and I are working on. Why do we always say AI evals and analytics? Isn't it just AI evals? That's
Yeah.
what people are saying. We're working on evals. I'm an evals expert. Why do we keep saying AI evals and analytics as a pair?
That is one big difference between our work and others, is that we also emphasize on the importance of analytics. And we also draw the differences between AI evals and analytics. AI evals are like standard tests. They're tests designed to measure whether your product is behaving the way you want it to. By you, I mean the AI builder, the product builder. But for analytics, that is when your product meets its user, whether the user likes it. That is a question that analytics answers.
So AI evals comes before product launch and continues after product launch. And analytics comes into the scene after you actually launch your product and have meaningful user statistics from user behavior, from user feedback.
For example, you can have a creative writing assistant bot that hallucinates a lot, that gives you a very bad score on hallucination, but still deeply loved by your users. And that can be the difference you will observe in AI evals versus post-release analytics.
To my understanding, you could be making a product that fails in evals but excel in analytics.
The opposite can also be true. You can have a product that excels in all
It's a
AI
great
evals.
student.
Yeah, but then fails miserably in production. I actually think the latter may be more common, and that is why we advocate for bringing analytics into your AI evals plan.
So that wraps our first episode of AI Evals and Analytics podcast. If you have any specific topics you want us to talk about, feel free to message us on LinkedIn or comment below on the podcast. And we appreciate 5-star rating if you find this podcast helpful. Bye.
Until next time.